Guys, I don't know what to tell you, but Spider-Man No Way Home rocked. I barely know what to say about it because I can't stop thinking about it. The movie is so goddamn good and hits so hard that it's almost difficult to remember everything about it and talk about it in a coherent way. Real quick, because I want to talk spoilers, if you haven't seen the film, I'll give my spoiler-free review. Basically, the film slaps and you should see it. It looks better than any other MCU Spider-Man film, it's more epic, the performances are better, and it will stick with you after the credits roll. If you haven't seen the film, go fucking see it. You're doing yourself a disservice by waiting this long. Okay, with that said, I'm going to be getting into spoilers, so if you haven't seen the film, this is your last chance to leave. Seriously, go see it and then come back. You won't be disappointed. Okay, spoilers in 3, 2, 1. I am so goddamn happy about this movie, it's hard not to sound like a fanboy. Really, the only thing I'm disappointed with is that there is no Garfield like everyone said there was going to be. Nah, I'm just kidding. Everything that was leaked was basically true. Just a quick heads up, this review is basically going to be a jumbled mess. I saw the movie twice and I have so much to say about it, so just bear with me. Essentially, if you've seen any No Way Home news since Alfred Molina was confirmed to be coming back as Doc Ock late last year, you know the rumors and you know the intense speculation this film has been under. Basically, everyone was rumored to be back for some type of live-action Spider-Verse film. I'm no stranger to this speculation myself. I feel like every day I was looking online to see what else had leaked. But what was so interesting about this round of speculation is that after seeing the movie, basically everything leaked was true. Every rumor turned out to be real, but it didn't ruin the experience for me, it almost enriched it. I'll get to the big rumors later in the video because there is a lot to unpack. Just as a quick refresher, this movie deals with the aftermath of Peter Parker's identity as Spider-Man being revealed after the events are Far From Home and picks up right from there. The movie actually allows time for Peter and his friends to deal with these events, which honestly was so refreshing to see. We've never seen Peter deal with the scenario on the big screen before, so I was elated that they actually spent time dealing with it. It would have been so easy to just get right into the Strange spell. But seeing Peter and MJ and Ned deal with the fallout and see them get denied from school because of their implications in these events made that Strange spell so much more necessary and earned. When Peter goes to Strange for help, you feel the stakes much more than you would have if he had just gone immediately. This brings me to the Strange of it all. He's only in the movie for what feels like 30 minutes, but his importance is so immense and it fits so well in the story. Obviously, he's the only person who can cast a spell that would get people to forget Peter is Spider-Man, but having him as a heal to Peter is important in Peter's development. The last two Home movies saw Peter look up to his mentors almost way too much. He had a blind devotion to Tony and didn't question Skrull Nick Fury anywhere as much as he should have. But this time, Peter doesn't listen to Strange all that much. He actively fights him in order to do what he thinks is right, which feels like such a momentous act of development for this iteration of the character. When he beats Strange, it's a signal that Peter is at the peak of his powers. And of course, him not listening to Strange allows all of the villains to come into the story and play major roles. And by God, is it so good to see these villains again. Alfred Molina is awesome as Doc Ock, Jamie Foxx as Electro is actually kind of fun, and of course, Willem Dafoe steals the movie as Green Goblin. I know they de-aged these guys, but it feels like no time has passed in their performances. They seriously all slot so well into these characters, it's ridiculous. I think the movie did a really good job of continually explaining their motivations and characterizations throughout. They're all confused when they end up in Tom Holland's world and they all want to go home. But when it's revealed that they all end up dying fighting Spider-Man, they obviously want to avoid that, and then the movie is about redeeming these villains and curing them, which is fun to watch and really clever. Goblin specifically is interesting because the movie tells you that Norman does not want to live with him in his head anymore, which adds this extra layer to the film. Peter ends up fixing Otto's arms so he's back in control, which fixes one of the concerns I had about this movie, which was the development of these characters. Otto at the end of Spider-Man 2 is redeemed, so it would have felt cheap to go back on that, but fixing his chip massaged those concerns away. However, things do go wrong as Goblin comes back into the fold, and this is where the movie really begins to hit. It did before, of course, but this is where we see that extra gear it was hiding. Goblin gets into fights with the remaining bad guys, and his fight with Dafoe is especially brutal before ending with May's death. I was not expecting to cry over such an underutilized character, but she has just enough development in this movie that you feel her death. Her morals essentially guide the movie and Peter. And of course we get the fabled responsibility line, which only makes you cry more. The film slows down and allows Holland's Peter to mourn, which is such a turn from all these Marvel movies that are just action, action, action. You see Peter hit rock bottom, you feel his pain, which is so important to the crux of the film. He wants to kill Goblin, which is against everything Spider-Man is against, and everything May was against as well. This also allows for Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire to enter the picture, which God damn, I can't tell you how much I love seeing them back. The chills I felt down my spine when I saw them enter through Ned's portals are still being felt as I make this review, and I just can't stop thinking about how lucky we are that we live in a world that we get to see this. It helps that Andrew and Toby are still so good in their roles and are actually trying here. Andrew especially steals the show. He obviously still cares about the character, and he makes every moment he's on screen special. Even a line as simple as Peter 3, he gives so much energy and charisma to, and seeing him catch Zendaya at the end is such an emotional moment, one we all thought might happen, but it's even better when you actually see it in action. I didn't really like the Amazing Spider-Man movies, but I always liked Andrew, and I would love to see him get another feature-length shot at the character. It's also cool in this film that it seems like the creators came up with a history that these characters have gone through since we last saw them. With Toby, it seems like his Peter has gone through at least 10 years of life since we saw him, and with Andrew, while it might not have quite as been as long, there's lines about how he handled Gwen's death. It's just cool to think that these characters have lived lives in some other universe, and it's an added detail that I really appreciate. What's really funny to me is how much chemistry all three Spider-Men have. Every moment they're on screen together is incredible. It's like they were all meant to be Spider-Man, but also together in a movie. It's like insane. I'm also just glad they made fun of Toby's organic webs. I don't know, I just really like that. Final climax is full of in-jokes and fun interactions between the three guys through dialogue and action, and it's even better than I realistically could have expected. The whole action is fun to watch. Really, the whole film has incredible action, but it's what happens after the bad guys are defeated that really pushes this film into the next level for me. Essentially, the spell Peter messed up is splintering in a way that is going to allow everyone who's ever known who Peter is to come into the universe, and the only way for Strange to stop it is for everyone to forget Peter Parker. It's actually Peter's idea to do this, which is genuinely heartbreaking. We have to watch him say goodbye to Ned and MJ, who both make him promise to come find them and explain everything after the spell is cast. Peter promises to do so, but after seeing the two in a coffee shop and realizing they're better off without him putting them in danger, he makes the decision to leave and let them live their lives. I want to note that Tom Holland has always been great in the role, but this is the movie where he really cements his status as the best Peter Parker / Spider-Man to ever do it. This is an honestly heartbreaking decision, but one that screams Spider-Man, and you feel it all because of Holland. Peter sacrifices his personal life and what he wants to do in order to save the universe and his friends. Spider-Man as a character is so interesting and beloved because of that, because he is so selfless and so driven by his great responsibility to be Spider-Man. This is the first Spider-Man movie since Spider-Man 2 that I feel like has really grappled with this, which I think is why this movie has stuck with me so long after the credits have rolled. This is the first MCU movie where Spider-Man has really felt like Spider-Man, and it's the first time in a while that I'm excited to see what they do with the character. They've reset him in a way that makes him more like the classic comics character, which opens up a world of possibilities, and I honestly can't wait to see what's next. Before the end of the video, I just want to dedicate a section to some assorted musings and thoughts I had about the film that didn't really fit in my review. First of all, Charlie Cox's Daredevil is now an MCU character, and it came the same week Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin was revealed on Hawkeye. It's so cool to see these Netflix iterations join the MCU, especially since these castings were universally beloved. I hope it doesn't end here. I say let the entire Netflix verse join the fun. Why not? Also, just dawned on me that the current Matt Murdock shared a scene with the OG Foggy Nelson. That's insane. Tom Hardy shows up in the post-credit scene, and I honestly don't know what to think. The whole thing is kind of unceremonious. He talks about the events of this universe, gets sent back to his own, and then some of the symbiote is left in Tom's world. It kind of seems like it shuts the door closed on a Tom Hardy-Tom Holland meetup, which I guess is fine because the two characters at this point don't make sense in the same world, but it just seems like a weird way to get the symbiote in this world is all. The entire ramifications of Strange's spell is not clear. Like, it's obvious Spider-Man still partook in the events he was in the MCU. It's just that no one knew he was Peter. But, like, is them knowing he's Peter the only reason he got Stark Tech? Is he still an Avenger? Would they help him? On top of that, just thinking about Peter's existence as a person, if no one remembers who he is, does he still have a birth certificate or even a social security number? Like, does he just exist but with everyone forgetting who he is? Or is he just, like, not a known person at all? With that said, the suit at the end is fantastic, and I hope it's the main suit throughout the college trilogy. May saying the Great Power line works really well, and I'm glad they didn't shoehorn Ben into this. Like, if they were going to have Ben, he should have been included much earlier in Spider-Man's time in the MCU. The Goblin Spider-Man fights are awesome, but I'm especially pleased that they included a move from Spider-Man PS4. I can't really show footage of the exact move, but you know what I'm talking about. I really want to see Harry Osborn in the next series of movies or other characters like Norman, Gwen Stacy, and Kirk Connors. It's both funny and horrifying to think about Peter meeting them while having knowledge of what happens to them in other universes. It could be a nice little wrinkle to their relationship. There are some distinctly beautiful shots in this, specifically when Peter is watching Jameson's broadcast. I'm so glad they included this line.
You know, I'm something of a scientist myself.
That's it for me. Go see the thing.